Yes, Friday. Orange and blue today. Denver Broncos, Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, how are you, Mace?
Tired.
Out there in that sun.
Yeah. Ready for a Saturday respite.
Okay.
Although not really. We'll have a
We've got
show.
a Saturday show for you, right? Saturday, big show. So, yeah. Keep it going. Talk some Broncos today. A little Friday, a little week wrap-up type of thing, right? And we'll get to our thoughts, but how to help out Bo Nix. Is it going to be help? Maybe if they can use Marvin Mims or maybe even Troy Franklin, who might get a jersey this week.
Yes, because you need some vertical speed. And you didn't have that last week. Now, you don't want to sit here talking about losing the guy who led you in receptions last week, which was Devon Bailey, who's the only Bronco who's already been ruled out for this game. But it does certainly create some opportunities, perhaps for Troy Franklin, who was inactive last week, but maybe factors in a little more if the Broncos try to bring a dynamic element to their offense.
Yeah, and I think that speed will have to be part of it, Mace. Like somehow, some way. If you try to slog against this team, they're going to slog you right back. You try to just rough them up with the ground game. Now, you need to a little bit, but if that's your only thing, like what else you got? So what else you got? You better have some speed on display. And they've got some guys that can do that.
Yeah, the question is, are they going to use them?
I hope so. I mean, I'm talking with Mims like a couple of plays. Can we see at least a couple of plays out of target last week? But can we get an end around? Can we get a couple of deep shots? 5 plays for Marvin Mims. Is that too much to ask for? And you're going to have to not go 3 and out so you can extend these drives. So, yes, you're going to have to run. You're going to have to play great defense, whatever. But, yeah, it's not outlandish to ask for, hey, 5 touches for Marvin Mims somehow or 5 targets, something.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you some numbers there in terms of Marvin Mims Jr., okay? Last week, he had 1. This is like combined targets and rushing attempts, okay? Last week, 1. Las Vegas Raiders, week 18 last season, 2. Didn't play against the Chargers. He was inactive. New England Patriots, Christmas Eve last year, 4. Detroit Lions, 3. LA Chargers on the road, 3. Houston Texans, 3. Cleveland Browns, 4. Minnesota Vikings, 3. Buffalo Bills, 2. Chiefs, 1. Packers, 2. Chiefs on the road, 0. Jets at home, 1. Bears on the road, 2. You've got to go all the way back to week 3 last year against Miami to find a game where he was the combined total of rushing attempts and receiving targets exceeded 4. I had to look that up. I had to go through that in real time because I just had the thought about it when you brought it up. But yeah, and that game against Miami, 5 targets, 1 rushing attempt. That's the only time in his career to date that the Broncos have had a combined total of targets and rushing attempts for Marvin Mims Jr. that exceeded 4. That's not good.
What's the disconnect then? I mean, we've played the Marvin Mims clip. We played it yesterday. I mean, there are ways. He can't do everything. And this coaching staff has said before, we got to work to what the players can do. So I know they know. So it's not like there's some curmudgeon-y old coaching staff who's like, he doesn't do everything right, so we're not going to. No, this staff has already said multiple times, like, we have to adhere to what our players can do. Yet they won't do that for Marvin.
It's interesting. Maybe in their minds, he's not doing enough of even the things that in terms of the things that he can do well. Maybe he doesn't bring enough there.
Would they be trying to save him for special teams? Is that any part of it? Because if that's the case, you know what I say? Use him less on special teams.
I doubt it. I mean, not that it isn't important, but typically it works the other way. Like if they're contributing heavily on offense, it's less on special teams. It's to preserve the availability on offense. That's the number one priority. I mean, just think back to the first 4 games of last year's Cecil. First 4 games of last year, he was targeted 11 times, and he had 11 times, and he had 73 and 47. That's 120. So he had 11 targets, 9 receptions, and a very nice yardage total of 233 in 4 games. Okay. Since then, Cease, 23 targets, 13 receptions, and I believe it's 144 yards.
So it's fewer yards than he had in the first 4 games.
Yeah, he has fewer yards in what is now his last. What is now his last 13 games than he had in his first 4 games in terms of receiving.
That's just unusual. You need him this week. You're going to need him.
Oh, by the way, what's more, the 12 snaps that he had playing only on a percentage basis last week, 17% of the snaps, the lowest of the offensive snaps. That's the lowest percentage he's had as a Bronco. Lower than any single game percentage last year.
It's going the wrong way for Marvin Mims.
That's the thing. No, it's not progressing toward him getting more opportunities. It's in reverse here.
Yeah.
Now, the show we talk about secret weapon. That's Troy Franklin. If you can get Troy Franklin involved as a vertical stretch threat, great. And then he can provide that. You need somebody to provide that vertical stretch. But it's pretty clear based on what you're seeing in terms of the usage that Marvin Mims Jr. isn't favored in terms of the offensive game plan right now. Even though he did start. It's funny. Like one of those 12 snaps was a start because they opened in 13 personnel and he was the only wide receiver out there.
Yeah. So there you go, Marvin Mims. If you're not going to do it, then find someone that will. And chat room's already asking about Greg Dulcich. Who's the Joker going to be, right? Tyler asked that from the chat. Who can the Joker be this week? Is Dulcich a mismatch? Dulcich is a mismatch. He's a mismatch
for a mishmash of defenses.
Yes, for a mishmash of defenses as I mush through my words. With Pittsburgh, I'm not as sure. Because, again, they have speed at every single level. And when they add Patrick Queen in the offseason, you're like, well, that's not fair. It's like Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs, except it's on their defense. So It's less of a weapon this week when they didn't even use them last week. Last week, it was more of a weapon against Seattle because there was one place you could pick. It was the middle of the field. Now, Mace, I just throw up my hands. I don't know where you pick on this week.
We always say throw the open guy. Who's going to be open?
You're going to have time?
This might be a running back game.
So 8 catches for Javonte out of the backfield?
Potentially. I mean, last week you had Jaleel McLaughlin with 5 receptions, right?
Yes,
Didn't get
1
very
yard.
Far. 5 receptions for 1 yard. Oh, God.
That needs to be like 50. Running backs need to be averaging about 10 yards per catch.
Well, not that's pretty
for a guy
rare.
like him. For a guy like him,
yeah.
Yeah, for Javonte, no. Javonte can average 5, 6, 7 yards a catch. Guy like
I think
Jaleel,
even Jaleel, I would take like 8.5.
I'd take anything better than 0.2 or whatever it was last week.
0.2.
Yeah. So draw plays, screen passes, and what else? Like a fierce pass rush. You can think run at TJ Watt, but he's a great run defender. Run at Highsmith, but he's a run defender. Like there's not really the weaknesses there.
Yeah.
This is why that team can carry that lame ass offense. Like they've been carrying that lame ass offense for a while. Even Ben, when he was done playing, he was done. He was still playing, but he was done. It was still the Steelers defense keeping them a 500 team.
Would you say the Broncos offense is lame ass at this point?
I don't know what kind of ass they are. You know what I mean? Like who are they? I know who they want to be. You and I've
That's
had this
the thing.
discussion.
We know where they want to. Yeah, we know where they want to go. The question is, can they make it there? You have to play the long game with Bo Nix, but the thing is, this is also where we talk about you got to get help from others.
Yep.
And help from others means receivers are going to have to generate separation.
Yeah. And of course, Mike chimes in on the chat room. Cutting TP looks questionable after all these injuries.
That's what I was saying. I just said that.
Yeah. There you go.
But I vanished. Yeah. Okay. All of these injuries, I mean, you've had one injury at wide receiver. Josh Reynolds is going to play. He missed practice Wednesday. He was back yesterday. Full practice today. He's going to go. So, honestly, like with Tim Patrick, he wasn't generating separation consistently. It was all about kind of stuff in traffic as well. Could Tim Patrick have done much more than Devon Vele did last week? I'm not sure.
No. Would he have let one slip through his hands like Josh Reynolds? Probably not. But if we just take Vele out and we put Tim Patrick in, I bet the stat line's 8 for 8 for 60 yards. It's the same. What is it now?
Well, wait, you're talking about instead of Vele? Well, I mean, Vele had 8 for 35.
8 targets, 8 catches. It was 35 yards?
Or 39. 8 for 39 was Vele last week.
Oh, I think Tim would get a little bit more than that. Maybe not much more, but it'd be close.
Well, he would have had to get yardage after the catch, and that requires separation. And okay, I mean, I don't know. Like that's the thing. Hopefully we're looking back at this start of the season on offense and saying that this was crawling before you walk, walking before you can run. But boy, crawling in the process of watching it is not pretty.
No, it's not. Tyler asks, who gets the TD first, Mims or Franklin this year? That's a pretty good one.
Ooh.
That's a pretty good one. I'd actually probably say Franklin.
This is actually where if you put Franklin out there, do you insert him because there is the pre-existing chemistry of Bo Nix? And yes, that matters less and less as time goes on and Bo gets adjusted to his NFL receivers. But right now, in terms of game speed work, there is a greater body of work with Bo Nix together with Troy Franklin than with any of the other pass catchers at this point. So do you put that in there to shake it up a little bit? Taking advantage of the fact that with Vele down, you've gained another roster spot at wide receiver.
I'd say that's true, but we saw better chemistry with Vele during rookie mini camp and OTAs and training camp. Like this entire offseason, we've seen the better chemistry, not with Troy Franklin. And the one thing with Troy Franklin, who gets beat up too much on the air, by the way, and I'll say that to any of our fellow workers at Denver sports, like, okay, let's watch Troy Franklin. People, they get real wild with their opinions. But one thing we do know with Franklin, I don't know which one's going to show up because he's maddeningly inconsistent. I'm maddeningly inconsistent with speaking English, but he's maddeningly inconsistent. So if good Troy shows up, zang. If Troy that's not focused and drop passes shows up, and you just don't know. Every day out there, he'd have like a big catch, he'd drop 3, and then a day later, he'd have a big catch and he'd drop 3. Like you don't know what you're going to get from Troy Franklin.
I don't know if he was dropping 3 in one day. I think you're exaggerating a little bit there.
Theater of the mind, Mace. Theater of the mind.
I know, but let's.
Well, there are people that said he sucked every day, and that wasn't true.
That wasn't true. And by the way, like if you take like the broader sample size, and if you do kind of a rolling 3-day average, he was better at the end than he was at the start. He was on the upswing.
Yes, he was getting more consistent.
To the point where it didn't surprise me that he was inactive on Sunday in Seattle, but if he had been active, I could have seen that. I could have seen the rationale behind it. Mike Naylor, we need a playmaker. Yeah. Somebody make a play. Something dynamic in this offense. This is what you need. Get separation, get the, Bo Nix hopefully finds the player open out in front, makes a play, that play can involve yardage after the catch as well. You and I have talked about this, how this team's search for explosives is going to involve probably having to get some of those explosives with yardage after the catch. But last week, you had only 2 plays of 20-plus yards, one of which was a Bo Nix scramble. You only had 6 plays that gained double digits in that game. That's only 3 pass plays last week that gained 10 or more yards. Seattle had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plays of at least 11 yards through the air in the game. That would actually be worth looking up. Was there any team last week in the NFL that had fewer pass plays of double-digit gains?
Carolina.
They might have gotten some in garbage time.
Or maybe not. It's Carolina. It's pretty bad there.
Yeah, I mean, oh, boy. That's... You don't want to be the Panthers today trying to navigate life with Bryce Young.
No. Armac asked something that we've talked about Jaleel being a tell. I don't necessarily think it's a tell anymore, but he gets a ton of attention. When they see Jaleel on the field, the defense is on high alert. So
because there's a decent chance he gets the ball, not to the same degree last year.
Sure.
But decent chance he gets the ball. And because this offense doesn't have a great many dynamic threats, they take him seriously. It's like, okay, better be careful, because how many guys out there are you going to say can beat you?
Not many.
But Jaleel McLaughlin, I mean, if he doesn't get knocked down, if he doesn't get knocked down, he's gone.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing that
by the way, the stat, okay? Denver was dead last in the league in passing plays of 10-plus yards last week with 3. Carolina had 6. I told you they got some in garbage time. Second fewest in the league, though, the Pittsburgh Steelers, which sort of goes hand in hand with what Riley Moss was saying about this being an Iowa-Wisconsin type game. If you've got teams here that are 31 and 32 in pass plays of 10-plus yards, although Pittsburgh is tied with like 5 other teams. So Pittsburgh would be, T27. but only the Broncos are worse. So you can say these are the two teams that last week had the fewest pass plays of 10-plus yards. This is why the Iowa-Wisconsin. Do we still have that quote or no?
No.
Oh, you clean it out.
On his first start, yeah.
Yeah, you clean it out. Never mind.
Yeah. They can watch tomorrow. They can see it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Devin says, who steps up with estimate out? Should be Javonte, but.
Well, there's not much to replace. He only got 3 carries last week.
He would have got more if he'd hang on to the rock. I mean, you're assuming.
Will McLaughlin lost the rock too. The only running back who didn't lose the rock was Javonte.
Well, he's got to have more than 3 yards a carry.
Oof.
So it's been real bad. Real bad. Real bad.
Is it just now setting in how bad the offense was last Sunday?
I hope not. I mean, I maybe fans will see it again this week, but it's not going to look much better this week. I don't see how they score more than 17. You know, as an optimist.
I see how. It's takeaways.
Get on a short field.
Short field or a defensive score, strip sack fumble. You got one last year from Justin Fields. You got an interception late from Justin Fields. That's where your points might come from. I mean, shoot, if you look at last week's game too, Broncos score 20 points. They get they get 2 safeties. They get one field. They get a game-opening field goal drive where they don't get a first down. They get another field goal drive where they don't get a first down. So, you look last week and it's 3, 6, 10. Basically, 10 points happen because of the defense and special team short fields. If you're getting to 20 again, it's probably happening that way.
You know what I do if I'm Marvin Mims and I score on a return? I take the ball to Sean Payton.
Oh, gosh.
I say, here you go, Sean. You know I can do that on offense, right?
Oh, boy.
He just might. Man. He's pretty fired up.
You deleted the quote from yesterday, right?
Yeah, we played it yesterday, so.
I know. Doesn't mean we can't play it again. I know.
It's all good. It's all good. You want me to play a quote? I got something we haven't played. I've got Mike McGlinchey on TJ Watt. This will be a big one.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that's a complete football player. He sets the edge well. He takes chances on the edge, and he's athletic enough to get back underneath it. He keeps you guessing out there in the run game. You can't just recklessly run at him because he's so smooth and athletic that he can bend around you and make those plays. And he had a couple of great ones against Atlanta last week and certainly affected the game in that regard, other than just his pass rush, which is obviously what he's known for across the league. But he's a complete football player and certainly somebody that we're going to have to look out for this Sunday.
He's a problem.
Yep. Can't just run right at him either.
No. Are you gonna run at Alex Highsmith? I mean, that's your better option, right? That's not a great option.
Sure. Is GB Zone? How you feeling about GB Zone this week?
Oh, I think he's in a good place. He's MRI negative, X-rays negative, full practice Friday. I think he's good to go.
That's a good sign.
He seemed chatted with him a bit today. He's in good spirits.
Good.
Think he's ready.
And
ready
maybe,
for the challenge.
Just maybe based on their performance and Quinn Miners and others, but maybe the bad performance last week helps them be extra sharp this week. Chat room's talking about that too.
Yeah. I mean, Quinn Miners you could argue that was the worst game Quinn Miners ever had as a pro. Certainly, the number behind that 3 QB hits allowed. He's never allowed 3 QB hits in a game before last week. It's not, there's no analytics behind it, just human nature. I think we'll see some I think we can see some bounce backs up front. And if you can bounce back up front, and then if the running backs have the vision to take advantage of the holes up front, then you're not as worried about getting the passing game going. Then you're keeping Bo Nix at a reasonable number, not letting him get to 42 attempts. If Bo Nix throws the ball 42 times, this game is going to be bad.
You're in trouble.
You're in deep trouble if he throws it 42 times.
Yeah, but I don't want that number much over 25. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Friday show, wrapping it up. Disney Star Wars, no. One-Eyed Jacks, no. That would be no.
You still go to the movies. You still consume the content.
When they had one. I didn't watch a single episode of The Acolyte, though.
Yeah,
I mean, they screwed up the Book of Boba Fett. The Book of Boba Fett is like perfect. You're going to have a perfect story, and then they completely botched that. The best Book of Boba Fett episodes were the ones with Mandalorian in.
AKA season 2.5 of The Mandalorian.
Yes, season 2.5.
Yes. Yes,
So,
exactly.
They'll get Mandalorian gets his own movie. So I think they've started filming on that. So maybe.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And it's Dave Filoni. So, Dave Filoni hopefully will set things right, but we'll see. A lot of misses with Disney Star Wars. A lot of misses.
A lot of money made, though.
Yeah, for sure. That is for sure. All right. It's a Friday show, Mace. Let's wrap it up. Let's enjoy our Saturdays. We've got a Saturday pregame show for you. Make sure to stay tuned for that. And other than that,
let's hope for better offense. Let's hope for better offense. I mean, oh boy. It's been a long time since the Broncos really broke out on offense.
Can they surprise us on Sunday? We shall see.
We shall see. Can you tell me, Cecil, when was the last time the Broncos scored at least 30 points in a game?
The last time?
Yes.
Hit me.
Chicago last year. Of course, 7 of them involved a defensive touchdown when the ball was stripped away from
Justin Fields.
Okay. I wanted to have a little bit of positivity here to end the show with, because I feel like we've been dogging on the offense all day.
Well, we'll hope they can do something. It's not dogging. It's just they're up against it, man. Like they're up against it. So,
Yeah, and it's the collective. I mean, this is the thing. It's not just the quarterback. It's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the old John McKay quote after his USC team got destroyed by Notre Dame. He went to the locker room and looked at his players and said, "Those of you who need showers, take them."
He always had it, man. He always had it.
Yes.
All right. Holy Divers, they're showing Saturday. Yes. 10 a.m. pregame. Look for it.
Yep.
It'll be on
Catch it
YouTube first, and then it'll be on Twitter and Facebook. So.
And you have post-game Sunday.
Yep.
Hopefully it goes well.
I think so.
I actually didn't watch the show last Sunday. How was it?
Oh, it was fine. I mean,
yeah,
it was fine.
No,
has to be a special moment for me to lose my lunch, like the Dolphins.
Like he's gonna be fired.
Hey, one day that statement will be true.
Oh gosh. Oh, I mean, we'll actually get more into Vance Joseph on Saturday because there was a pretty long statement that he had that we dive into it a little bit. we gotta dive into it. There's a lot there. A lot
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, you want to hear that. You do not want to miss that. All right, it's weekend time. Let's go Broncos. He's Andrew Mason, but we need your help on YouTube. So how do y'all help us out?
Like,
Comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell.
so that you
Never
miss
a vid.
vid. That's right. Andrew Mason at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.